What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. I actually got an email from a viewer, from a subscriber, whatever the fuck you want to call them, wanting to go over some things about androgen use. And you know, I kind of steer clear of that whole situation, but you know what? I figure I'm driving to Ohio. I ain't got shit to do. I'm trying to stay awake. I might as well get high. So, what's up? We're going to call him Mike because, well, there's a lot of people named Mike and it makes sense. So, Mike, what do you want to talk about, man?
What's up, Mark? Yeah, thanks for doing this for me. Basically, you know, I've watched your channel for a while, and you know, I know a lot of people who jump on gear at a young age, and including myself, and you know, who should and should not be on. But the thing is, like, a lot of people, you know, it's a very emotional thing going on when it comes to results. And a lot of people just, like, even if they're not impatient, they still, you're gonna, like, look for the information that you want to see that, you know, that does what you want to do. So for me, I'm thinking, like, okay, now I've always had a good head on my shoulders, and I've been training for 8 years now. I'm 23 years old. So when people hear 23, a lot of times they'll think, oh, that's way too young for gear. But at the same time, a lot of people say, well, you know, have 5 years of training before you start. So in that sense, I've been listening for 8 years, and I'm coming up on 3 years of gear. And I think that I could provide some insight into the people who are considering jumping on. And to be honest, when I was considering, like, when I was first starting to get on, I don't know if I would have listened to this video or, like, really taken it to heart. But a lot of what you read is guys who are, you know, 40 years old and they had, like, some incident, kidney transplant, heart attack, and they say, okay, you know, this is, you know, don't go on, it's bad for you. But as somebody who's 23, I think I can relate to the people and, you know, what's going on. So basically, I wanted to provide some insight there. And hopefully, I mean, if it can help some people out to give them a little guidance, then, you know, all the better.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to just expound. I'm going to state for the record, I don't believe that anyone should go on unless you want it to be your lifestyle, unless you're, you know, I had someone the other day said they want to, I was reading this email with Sean. They just, no, it was in a fucking store event. It was in a store event in Canada. And the guy's like, well, I just want to try it. Steroids aren't marijuana. It's not something you just try. It's a lifestyle you adapt. So when you decide to come on, coming off is such a bitch that you better know that it's going to be a part of your life. I mean, it's a fucking, it's like getting baptized in a religion. I don't want to overstate this, but for me it is, because it's such a fucking tremendous decision to take steroids. First of all, you give up your natty status if you ever want to compete natural. Second of all, you're shutting your balls down even after like a day. I mean, it's and coming off is so mentally fucked and so fucking physiologically fucked that I'm not a big fan of people going on steroids. I know for a fucking pro bodybuilder that's weird, but I mean, I've seen both ends, and the only reason I see ever going on is medical. I know people go, oh, you're an asshole, this, that. That's my honest fucking opinion. I'll say it to anybody. I'll say it in person, I'll say it over the phone, I'll say it on this channel. I don't think you should fucking jump on. But that's me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And, you know, like I said, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have, but, you know, going through what I have, I definitely agree with you. I mean, the thing is, and, you know, you said before, and Jason Blockoff does this as well, that, you know, for blasting and cruising is really, like, you need to stay on. And that is true. I mean, I know some people will say it's not, but it is. I mean, my first cycle, I gained 16 pounds. I gained an inch in my arms in 3 weeks. And, you know, it's crazy results.
Is it still there? 3 months later. Is it still there?
Hello? Yeah. Yeah, you got it?
Do you still have that size, or did it go away?
Oh, no, it went away within, so for about a month after the cycle, it was still there, and then I tried doing a cut, and it was, you know, as long as I kept eating, you know, I was still bigger, because I was just kind of replacing with fat, so I was, like, getting stronger, but once I tried cutting, it was all gone within 3 months. So after about a year of, like, trying the whole, like, just cycling thing, I was like, you know, this is not working, and then I blasted and cruised for, like, the last 2 years, and that did get results. But, you know, I think a lot of people are very delusional about what steroids is. Like I said, I had crazy, I gained like an inch on my arm in 3 weeks. But as of now, in the next 2 years after that, I put on another inch after blasting and cruising and everything. I mean, that's after 2 years. Realistically, naturally, I probably could have put on 1 inch instead of those two.
Yeah,
but,
steroids aren't magical. So let's get straight to what people want to see. And I mean, this is kind of what I'm interested in. I mean, no one's debating that steroids work. And I think people are debating how well they work. I like when people come on, they come on my channel, and they'll come on my Facebook, and they'll come on my Instagram. Well, if I did steroids, how many people at your gym fucking do steroids and don't even look like they fucking lift? I've been training.
You know my favorite?
For 20 fucking years I've been training. 20 years. I have fucking rock tape on right now because my fucking tendons are fucking falling apart. My lower back's a mess. I fucking ground, and thing is, what people don't realize that I qualified, I was winning NPC shows. I have good genetics, like it or not, as a fucking 155-pound lightweight. If I was on steroids at 155 pounds, they obviously weren't real.
And here's the thing, my favorite example of this is actually, you know, most people know Jerry Ward from the Biosis 3 channel.
Yeah,
Jerry Ward.
Well, for the record, Jerry and I are supposed to be hating each other now, even though we don't.
Right.
We talk all the time. Our whole thing is we're too fucking old to be partaking in drama. Yeah. But for the record,
well, I didn't want to say any. Fuck you. My point was just.
No, I'm joking. I'd like to say fuck you, Jerry Ward. No, I'm just playing. Jerry's my boy. So what's up? Go on.
Yeah, well, so I was going to say, you know, look at Jerry. Jerry was competing when he was 17 years old. And he said that in high school, he was bench pressing 110 dumbbells, which as a 17-year-old, that's pretty solid, right? Yeah. So he already had good genetics. Then he had a crazy response to drugs. He took drugs for 20 years, high doses of steroids, GH, insulin, myostatin inhibitors. And when he cut down after all that, he competed at like 190. So what do most people think they're going to compete at? You know what I mean? Like, that's a guy with all those things going for him, and he still was like, you know, 190, I think maybe 195 at best, competition weight. So people are thinking like, oh, yeah, I'm going to blow up to 250 lean with one or two cycles, or even I could take all the steroids in the world, and I'm not going to look like some people look naturally, you know? I mean, it's just not going to happen. Yeah, so I think that's one thing, is the unrealistic expectations.
I think there's the Doug Miller effect. You know, the thing is, like, he's fucking natural. I'm fucking saying it. I know this whole video is all the comments are going on Doug being natural, but I mean, he's passed more drug tests, and he's looked me in the eye and said it, and I'm one of those guys. It's like, I know it's hard to believe, because it's also hard to believe that LeBron James would make us look like fucking idiots on a basketball court. Some people are just born, God just likes some people better than some of us. It is what it is.
I don't think anybody, you know, look at I don't think if anybody ran all the time, somebody would say to them, oh, well, you know, I could be Usain Bolt if I wanted to. Like, people understand in other sports how important genetics are. It seems like that understanding isn't as clear with bodybuilding a lot of the time.
There's outliers, and then there's Doug Miller and Usain Bolt. You know what I mean? There's that outlier in the group, and then there's the what the fuck genetic fucking freak. And there's that show Heroes, and it was all fiction, but it had, like, basically they were born with this gift, and a lot of it, some of them were born, some of them were developed, and it's like, fuck, you know what? Sometimes people are just awesome. You know, it is what it is, and drugs do not cure awesome. You cannot cure lack of awesome with drugs. But so what? So let's get in. Now, this is what now we've gone over. I mean, everybody on this who's ever watched this channel knows my disdain for irresponsible steroid use. And
and so
how did you get fucked up?
Yeah, so that's what I'm hoping everybody has listened up to this point and is now going to pay attention to this, because this is the big thing. Because everything we said up to this point, I think, is somewhat common knowledge. But so basically, I had no genetic predisposition to anything, no like real heart issues in my family, nothing like that. You look at me, you see like a very healthy guy in his low 20s. You know, you would have no idea, right? I've had in the last 3 years, out of my own, just because I wanted to make sure I was healthy, 20 plus blood works done. I've gotten EKGs done, echocardiograms, liver ultrasounds, because I work in the medical field. I do have access to these things.
So you're saying it wasn't Obamacare?
It's not Obamacare.
Okay, good.
And so the thing is, I mean, first of all, how many people get all these tests? How many people just think, oh, you know what, I'll stick to this and it'll be fine? I mean, I had one guy do, he said like he did a super droll cycle. He's like, oh, I feel fine. Like, that's one of the most toxic things you could take. How you feel has nothing to do with it, first of all. But that aside, I feel good, right? So on these blood work, even the blood work, which is the big thing, because a lot of people think, oh, well, I've got one blood work done, I'm covered. That's really not the case, because blood work is not going to show everything. I mean, my blood work, my last technical blood work, you would look at it and you would say, this guy's completely healthy. Everything over there looks good. Then I get an EKG done, it's reasonable. But, you know, I'm like, let me follow this up from more. Let me get an echocardiogram. So I just recently, you know, this is a couple months ago now, get an echocardiogram done. And, you know, I have one of the ventricles is dilated, and my ejection fraction was 45%. Now, keep in mind, my dad is almost 60 years old. His ejection fraction is 60%. Okay, my brother has no issues. As a 23-year-old, I should have somewhere between 55 at the low end to a 70% ejection fraction. There's no reason why mine should be 45%, except from the gear use. And, you know, I feel totally fine. I had some people think, oh, most people think, okay, orals will hurt your liver, injectables are safe for your liver. Look up the studies on that stuff. Even boldenone, equipoise, has been shown to cause damage to liver cells. People think that, you read something online, it's like, oh, injectables isn't going to hurt your liver. That is absolutely false. Now, they're, of course, safer for your liver, but if you look up the studies, they do cause some liver damage. And, of course, the liver can regenerate well and whatnot. But I had a liver ultrasound done as well, and my liver was slightly enlarged. Now, I haven't done orals in over a year, and my liver was slightly enlarged. Now, it's not, I don't have liver failure or cirrhosis, but it still certainly concerns me. For a 23-year-old, I don't drink, for the record. I don't really do any recreational drugs. I live a very healthy lifestyle. I do cardio in the off-season, all those things. So I guess the main thing I wanted to say is, in addition to everything that most people do know, there's a lot of misrepresentation, and because people, you see like that movie, Bigger, Faster, Stronger. I'm sure you've probably seen it at this point.
It was a great movie, yeah.
Yeah, I like that movie. That's one of the things that kind of convinced me to go on, because they're like, oh, where are the bodies? And I kind of agree with that. Like, you don't see a ton of deaths strictly based on steroid use. That's because, there's so many different things that could be a cause that you can't really necessarily narrow down to that. I'm not saying you're going to do a cycle and you're going to die and anything like that at all. I'm just saying that, you look at somebody like me who has no predisposition. I mean, how many people out there are getting echocardiograms done and ultrasounds of their internal organs done? I mean, it's just not really happening. And the only reason I know is just because I'm a curious guy and I wanted to see what these tests would show, which is why I've actually decided to just, I do have a prescription for TRT, which was not necessary. I mean, it's not like I just had naturally a low T. I ended up getting that. But at this point, I am deciding to just go on TRT for health reasons and, just come off. It's not worth it to me as a 23-year-old who has, a lot of goals in life to be doing this when I don't compete. So I guess the main thing I want to get across to people is that it's very easy to get wrapped up emotionally. I mean, in most areas of my life, I'm very objective. I don't let my emotions make my decisions. But somebody who's lived 8 years, I think in 8 years, I've had 3 planned workouts I've skipped ever. I was that kid. I brought protein shakes into the bathroom with me when I was 15 years old in high school because that's how dedicated it was. So when you're doing all those things and you're not getting like the muscle magazine results that you expect, after 5 or 6 years of that, and you see somebody with better genetics blow past you in a year or two, it's definitely, it does become emotional. So, I just hopefully that people can realize that just because you're getting, even if you get blood work, and most people don't, but even if you get blood work, that is not necessarily a sign that everything's okay. And I mean, you even look at I know you and Jason Blaha agree on the blasting and cruising thing, but even Jason Blaha is pretty delusional in some things he said about, I remember he said recommended get blood work off cycle, which is ridiculous. Of course, your blood work should be good off cycle. It's on cycle that you need to know what's going on. You know what I mean?
So I recommend blood work year round, regardless of if you're on or off. That way, I mean, you're going to see some skewed results when you're on orals. That's just that's going to happen. I've known people who've been on injectables and all parameters of blood work are, perfect. I mean, I'm not talking I'm talking their blood work's great, but their test levels are at 7,000. I'm talking like a real fucking man cycle. So
yeah, and I've had that before. I actually had overdose gear where my last testosterone levels were the test capped out at 7,500. So mine said greater than 7,500, and this was based on I was on what was supposed to be 750 milligrams of test, so it was way overdosed. Which is another thing. I mean, you never really know what you're getting if you're going with underground stuff. But so basically, I don't want to rehash the same thing over and over, but just if you're a younger guy, realize that of course your expectations are going to be high and everything, but one, just because you make that jump, I mean, I'm still even after 3 years on gear, not where I would want to be naturally. I mean, that's just the reality of it, because you have all these crazy expectations. So that's one, don't think it's just going to be this magic fix. And two is just the fact that just because you think it's healthy, just because you read, test and test and equipoise should be safe. I mean, there's a reason that my ejection fraction is far lower than it should be. I have an enlarged liver. It's just, hopefully there's some people out there who, if you're already set on it, it's not going to matter. I know people are just going to ignore that. But hopefully there are some people who are on the fence that they hear this and they realize, it's maybe not as safe. And I'm not saying they're going to drop dead, but just, consider that just because there are certain things that people say are healthy, you really have no idea what's going on unless you're getting these extensive invasive tests like I've gotten.
Yeah, well, this was enlightening. It's definitely a new point of view. I'm all for it. The thing is that I like being disagreed with. I've changed my, for example, my opinion on things. I was actually pro-choice. Now, I'm going way off bait with as far as abortion's concerned until I lost a fetus, until I lost a baby. Then I realized, wait a second, that's a baby, that's not a fetus. So, I mean, things in life change. So I like this debate. I like these alternative opinions. While I'm not going to agree full-heartedly that it's that terrible, I am going to agree that you have your own personal anecdote. And whether steroids or androgens will affect everybody's body the same is another thing. The body reacts differently. Maybe you had a more sensitive liver. Maybe your heart would have done. I mean, there's no control group when you look at things like this. However,
absolutely.
What I love about this and what really captivates me is the fact that I have no issue getting it out there that there are inherent risks in everything you do, including putting a needle in your ass or simply going to your local scum supplement store who still sells oral steroids and buying it and thinking it's safe. Oral trenbolone, because it's sold at your local supplement store, does not make it safe. In fact, it's probably more dangerous than everything available in an underground lab. And it's illegal. It's just a loophole that they're getting by on. And yes, I do agree, Superdrol, which is still available at some stores, is the most toxic piece of shit on the market. It's extremely effective. However, it is extremely not only hepatotoxic, but toxic in general. So I like this because, again, what I want you guys to do, and I say kids, I'm 34 this month, all right? I'm not a spring chicken. I want you kids to do something that I managed to, again, like I said, I was winning shows as a lightweight up till 26. I want you kids to evaluate all your decisions and realize that for every action you make, there could be a consequence. Whether it's good or bad, there's going to be a consequence.
Yep.
So regardless, so basically your take home is don't do drugs.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you. It's definitely not, I'm not trying to be like fear mongering here. I agree. I've seen people who have been on for 20 years and they seem fine, but I just try to be objective with the decision because I understand how emotional it can be. And I mean, literally, bodybuilding and all that was my life. And I don't even compete, but I mean, it was everything I did. Which it wasn't even that social in high school because of how much I cared about it. So I get it. And I'm not saying, you're going to do this and you're going to get completely screwed up. But again, I had no predispositions to anything. You look at me, I seem completely healthy. And, these results did happen. So it's just something to keep in mind that, if you are going to do it, take all the precautions you can. And even more, if you can convince your doctors or whatever to get these more invasive tests, to get an echocardiogram, to get ultrasounds, because there's no way I would have known based on feeling or anything else other than my own curiosity to get these tests. And who knows, if I didn't get these tests, I could have been blasting for another 5 years. And then, who knows what could have happened at that point. Where at least now I see, okay, I have reduced heart function. At least now I can make, I can step back and say there's a lot more going on in my life that I don't need another 10 pounds of muscle or whatever that's going to come from the gear. And, I mean, I'm glad I at least figured it out at this point rather than finding out when I'm 30 and the consequences would be a lot more harsh. Well,
hopefully everything you have reverses itself and you live a long, healthy life.
Yep.
And again, man, I'm assuming your name's Mike because I honestly forgot what the fuck your real name is. So that's a good thing. But nonetheless, man, I appreciate your call. I appreciate you reaching out to me in order to get this message out. We'll put this up on the channel. It's a long fucking video, so you guys who have 20 minutes to listen to this whole thing, I hope that we've gotten at least listen to it. And even if you agree, disagree, whatever, just always listen to new information and new ideas because, again, if you read my old diet shit, I don't do any of that shit anymore. It worked, but there's a better way. So you never know when you're going to find the better way. But anyway, Mike, dude, I appreciate it. I actually have another call at 3:25. It's 3:18 now, East Coast. I'm driving to Ohio, but I appreciate your call. And I'll try and get this up. It's going to take a fuckload of time to upload because it's 20 minutes. Luckily, our office has FIOPS, so I'll be okay, man. Mike, you have a good one, man. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thanks for taking the call, man. Talk to you later.
All right, take care, man. Bye. Full disclaimer for the end of this. Did I agree with 100% of what he said? No. Do I think it's something that needs to be heard? Absolutely. So if you managed to make it through this whole video, I hope that we're able to get a new viewpoint across to you. And again, I just belched. This diet root beer is delicious. Because drinking A&W diet root beer, it's not a